Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Sherry Duckworth, and joining me today is Mr. Charles Fisher. He is with Bridges to Life. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Charles, tell us about Bridges to Life and how you got involved.
Well, Bridges to Life is an amazing program, and I first got involved with Bridges to Life when I was incarcerated. I was in the Texas prison system, and I took Bridges to Life as I went to work for the chaplain one day. He said, "I want you to take all of my programs and let me know which ones are effective." And so to do that for him, I signed up for all the different chapel programs that he had on the LeBlanc unit, and Bridges to Life was just one of those classes I signed up for. And it was amazing in that we had small group, and we talked about subjects like accountability, responsibility, confession, repentance, reconciliation, restitution, and I needed that at the time of my life that I took it. So I felt so blessed that God would put me in this program, Bridges to Life, inside a prison, which helped change my life. And Bridges to Life was something I wanted to do when I got out of prison. And it was amazing how God made that happen by putting me in the front seat of the car of the chief operating officer of Bridges to Life. I was doing another ministry where we were going into prisons to evangelize, and with this ministry, I rode with a friend of mine who was a platform guest, and he was going to one prison and I was going to another, and so I needed a ride to go to the prison that I was assigned to. And I asked at the orientation meeting that night, could someone give me a ride?
Yeah.
And all I heard were crickets. You know, it was kind of uncomfortable.
Well, we want to hear more about what happened after that here in just a moment, but we have a little bit more about your program for us to watch.
Excellent.
Hello, I'm John Sage, founder of Bridges to Life. Crime is one of our country's most pressing social problems, and everyone pays. The personal well-being of victims is destroyed, the community at large feels unsafe, families of offenders are torn apart and separated, and offenders have an X on their backs that they must carry forever to try to overcome. I founded Bridges to Life in 1998 after the murder of my sister Marilyn. Since then, Bridges to Life has grown from one project in a prison to over 500 projects in 42 Texas prisons. Our curriculum has also been used in 10 other states and 3 foreign countries. The Bridges to Life intervention is based on a restorative justice model that emphasizes the involvement of victims, offenders, and the community in the criminal justice system, and ensures a systemic way of addressing the issue of crime as it affects everyone. Participants in the Bridges to Life process develop a sense of connection with the criminal justice process that is not typically experienced, a sort of buy-in that leads to real change. This focus on root causes of crime, along with the interconnectedness of participants, provides a high-impact approach to dealing with the harm caused by crime and discourages inmates from committing future acts of crime. Through the 14-week curriculum-based process, both victims and offenders tell their story. Victims who many times feel alienated, afraid, and re-victimized by the criminal justice system begin a healing process that allows for forgiveness and empowerment. Offenders, many of whom have never even considered how their actions have affected their victims, their families and friends, and society at large, hear firsthand from victims of crime. Deborah, a Bridges to Life graduate, eloquently described the essence of the program to over 400 people at one of our annual luncheons. She said, "It was hope in a very dark place, love in a place where hurt, anger, shame, and humiliation are the rulers, kindness where rudeness and ugliness live, morality where immorality is stored, remembrance where most have been forgotten, a time of love and understanding to those who have never known such, the freedom to be who I was intended to be." After spending over 10 years in prison, Deborah has moved on to receive an associate's degree and is a licensed counselor at a halfway house in Houston. She is now helping other offenders heal from problems similar to those she experienced.
Charles, from your experience, why do you think Bridges to Life is so effective?
Well, as the video stated so eloquently, the hope for the hopeless is the main focus. The stories, the perspective of an offender being able to see from a victim's point of view what crime actually does to the victim and their families and society in general. And I think that having that perspective, it changes the way that the offenders think about what they do and the decisions that they make. And for me, that really gave me a way to deal with life's problems. And it gave me a way to handle situations that I wasn't prepared to handle before, that I handled with drugs or alcohol. And the Bridges to Life model, the program that we teach, each week leads the person into a different tool that they can use to have success in their life.
Talk to me a little bit about why you think they don't consider, why the person who is in prison doesn't consider the victim. What's going on in their mind? Help us understand that.
Well, most people that wind up in prison have a very selfish attitude. They have also been victims themselves, and hurting people hurt others.
Right.
And one of the things that happens in prison is they get put into an environment that is a dangerous environment. So they have to be very selfish in the ways that they act. They have to be very self-centered in the thoughts and the choices that they make and the consequences. They're already in prison. Oftentimes they don't consider what would the next right thing be. They always consider, what do I need right now?
So it's more of a survival mentality. How do I survive? How do I protect me?
Absolutely.
So others just are not considered, and so
Yeah.
it seems like a very lonely place to be mentally and in their hearts.
Well, oftentimes that's exactly what it is. Most men and women in prison probably haven't heard from home because they've used up all of the resources of the relationships they had at home. There were times in my life where my family didn't want to have anything to do with me because they had done everything they could to help, and I had taken their help and used it and abused it.
Yeah, that is so difficult to think about and for us to wrap our brains around. And I'm so glad you're here to bring us some understanding of what's going on inside the minds and hearts of those who are incarcerated. We have more for our viewing audience to watch today to help bring some more understanding. Take a look.
My daughter, Mitzi, was murdered on her 21st birthday. And to say that it changed my life is really grossly understated.
Paula Kurland is one of 300 volunteers who make up the team of Bridges to Life.
The most difficult thing for me has been taking the responsibility for what I did to my children, not intentionally. But when I say they lost their mother, they did.
It's been 20 years since the murder, but Paula began to heal when she joined Bridges to Life and was able to forgive the perpetrator and share her own story with inmates.
And then you have people that come in here and give of themselves freely because we truly care what happens to all of you.
And I developed the bad habits of robbing.
Patrick St. Jules is serving time for aggravated robbery. Today he attends the first workshop of the 14-week program. The group discusses taking responsibility for your own actions.
I never visualized what a victim went through. I didn't care what a victim went through. But after hearing their side of the story, it made me think, like, I wouldn't want that to happen to me, and I want to get a better understanding or where I'm trying to go in life. I know if I change my pattern, my thinking pattern, I can walk away from this criminal lifestyle. And Bridges to Life is that kind of path that way, because, you know, it deals with responsibility, accountability, repentance, listening to the victims and how they forgive the people who had wronged them, And I was like, if they can forgive a dude who done did these heinous acts to him, which have probably been me in another circumstance, if they can forgive me, why can't I forgive? All the frustration, the pain, and anger I had built up in me, I let it go. And now I'm a happier person from it.
Sage eventually wants to spread the Bridges to Life program to all prisons around the country.
It's about others. It's about helping others. When you get out of yourself and help others, that's really what life's about.
Wow, there's so much to unpack after watching that. I have so much I want to ask you, but the word that stood out the most for me was forgiveness.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about the importance?
Well, the importance of forgiveness is that, first of all, we ask God for forgiveness. And as an offender, that is a humbling experience, because so many years these men and women feel separated from God. They, any belief that they may have had because of the circumstances of their life, they may have fallen away from a relationship with trusting in God. So you ask God for forgiveness. Then you have the forgiveness of, I forgive you for what you've done to me. And that's easy to do because you have control of that forgiveness. And then you have to ask to be forgiven for the things that you've done to others.
Right.
And then finally, you have the forgiveness of self. And to have success in their life, these men and women, we have to learn to forgive ourselves. And we move forward so we don't get stuck in the same place in our lives.
And speaking of that, I'd like for you to explain to us the word recidivism.
Okay. Well, recidivism is the opportunity that a man or woman getting out of prison has to recommit an offense within 3 years of being released from prison. And oftentimes what happens in recidivism is that they'll commit a crime even worse than the crime that they went to prison for in the first place. For instance, a possession of a controlled substance becomes a burglary, or even worse, aggravated assault. And an aggravated assault or a burglary becomes a murder. And so recidivism is tracking the opportunity that a man or a woman getting out of prison has to recommit an offense beyond prison. And with Bridges to Life, we have a 14.3% recidivism rate versus the state of Texas that's about 35% of the offenders recommit a crime and go back to prison. And so for the Bridges to Life graduates, we actually track their statistics for up to 3 years.
It sounds like you all have some success here in what you're doing in this program. For those who are watching today and are curious and would like to learn more, how can they learn more about your program?
Well, they can go to the bridgestolife.org website, and we have information, and we have videos that they can look at on the website. If they click on the staff page, they can see the different regional coordinators that we have in the different areas of the United States, as well as the different regions here in Texas. And they can send an email, or they can make a phone call to one of the coordinators or one of the staff members, and we'd be more than happy to send them a fact sheet for Bridges to Life, or we would send them a promotional video that they could share. And what we do is we just want to get more people to volunteer to come into prison to facilitate these programs for these offenders.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charles, for being here today, and to Bridges to Life for what you're doing to bring hope to our community. And thank you all for watching us today. Enjoy in our town.
Thank you.